US President Donald Trump delivered his first State of the Union address of his second term. This is an American tradition in which the president reports to members of both houses of Congress about the country's problems, his achievements, and plans for the future. About half of the Democratic lawmakers did not attend this time. And by the way, the speech lasted 108 minutes. Trump surpassed his own previous record of 100 minutes. What exactly Trump said about Ukraine and in what context will be explained by our colleague from Independence Avenue Media, Zorislav Baidyuk.
This was President Donald Trump's fourth State of the Union address. This time it resembled a presidential campaign rally, but that was to be expected since overall the president's approval ratings are quite negative and Republicans are starting to get nervous about the results of the November congressional elections. President Donald Trump himself said that if the Democrats take control of Congress, he will be threatened with impeachment. So, after listing what he considered his achievements in the economy and claiming that thanks to him a golden age had come to America, Trump began blaming all the country's problems on his predecessor Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress. The president openly provoked the Democrats, who refused to stand and applaud his proposals, calling them mad, shaming his political opponents, and referring to himself as a great president. The first mention of Ukraine came when the president was talking about crime in the country, for which he also blamed the Democrats. Trump's team invited Anna Zarutska, the mother of Ukrainian Irina Zarutska, who died from fatal stab wounds in a streetcar in Charlotte, North Carolina last summer, to attend the speech. The killer had previously been convicted of various crimes and has mental health issues.
Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was returning home by train when a depraved criminal who had been arrested more than a dozen times and released each time without bail suddenly stood up and brutally slashed her with a knife on her neck and body. Mrs. Zarutska, today I promise you we will ensure justice for your daughter Irina. Irina.
Trump began to speak about foreign policy in the second half of his speech. He repeated the claim that he ended 8 wars around the world. He spoke about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He noted that he reconciled 2 nuclear states, India and Pakistan. And, according to him, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said that Trump saved 35 million lives. The president reported that he is actively working to end Russia's war in Ukraine.
We are working very hard to stop the 9th war, the killings and the slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers die every month. Just think about it, 25,000.
Donald Trump also spoke a lot about Iran. According to him, he prefers diplomacy, but he cannot allow a state sponsor of terrorism to possess nuclear weapons. And he immediately reminded that the United States has the most powerful armed forces in the world, and thanks to his efforts, a record amount of funds is being invested in the American military. In this context, Donald Trump recalled that thanks to his efforts, NATO countries now spend 5% of their GDP on defense. And he immediately added that, again thanks to him, from now on all the weapons that the US provides to Ukraine are paid for by NATO member countries. And he emphasized they pay the full price. Zorislav Baidyuk, Independence Avenue Media, Washington.
Senators and congressmen had mixed impressions of President Trump's State of the Union address. As expected, Republicans are thrilled, while Democrats are disappointed. Trump talked a lot about the economy. He claimed that he managed to achieve a real boom in this area and also boasted that under him, US spending is no longer increasing. Experts say the address was very similar to a campaign speech ahead of the midterm elections in Congress, which will take place in the fall. Trump's fellow party members mostly express agreement with him and admiration. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson called Trump's speech the best of such addresses in the country's history. Democrats, on the other hand, point out that the boasting about the economy does not correspond to reality. And polls show that quite a few Americans are concerned about their finances and feel that they have not benefited from Trump's policies. He is also criticized for saying little about Russia's war against Ukraine.
I am very disappointed that President Trump did not take this opportunity to acknowledge that Russia is the aggressor towards Ukraine and that our valuable NATO allies have come to the forefront and are investing in Ukraine's defense. He only mentioned it in passing. And frankly, instead of rolling out the red carpet for Putin, as President Trump did when he welcomed him in Alaska, he should actually be increasing the pressure on him.
The Slovak opposition was outraged by Prime Minister Robert Fico's decision to halt emergency electricity supplies to Ukraine and is already planning to take the matter to court. The leader of the Freedom and Solidarity Party, Branislav Gröling, stated that Fico is opening a new front against Ukraine on Putin's side. Therefore, they filed a criminal complaint with the prosecutor's office, stating in the submission that such violations by Fico constitute abuse of power, treason and inhumanity. Since Monday, Slovakia has suspended emergency electricity supplies to Ukraine. Prime Minister Fico explained, "If the Ukrainian side requests assistance to stabilize the energy system, they will no longer help." This step is a response to the fact that Kiev has not resumed oil supplies to his country. Just in January of this year, Kiev requested assistance to stabilize the Ukrainian power grid twice as often as during the entire previous year, since the situation is very difficult due to Russian attacks. It was precisely because of a Russian strike that the supply of Russian oil through the Druzhba pipeline was halted at the end of January. But Slovakia still blames the Ukrainian authorities and doesn't even want to consider alternative options. Events marking the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion took place in 80 countries around the world. The goal is to call for greater support for Ukraine and to adopt stricter sanctions against the Russian Federation. Thousands of people gathered at Trafalgar Square in London to show their support for the people of Ukraine. They sang the anthem together and held signs reading, "Stop the war, stop the killings." The organizers noted that participating in the event is a signal that politicians can hear. February 24th, the day that divided the world into before and after, Russia launched a full-scale war not only against Ukraine, but also against democracy and freedom. For the 5th year now, Ukraine has been withstanding the most brutal military assault, and this is longer than World War II lasted for many European countries.